Hey everybody, this is Benny. Some of you may have noticed that the exotics farming video I released a while back has become partially obsolete because of an update not long ago that changed the mission layout and removed all but one of the old exploration missions. These exploration missions were basically meant to act as a sort of open world mode back before open world was introduced. Now that we have open world and outpost game modes, these have mostly become pointless. Unfortunately for myself and a few others, the very first exploration mission is where we were farming exotics. So, time for an update, and with that update, a more in-depth look at ways to grind exotics using missions. First off, I've broken the video into chapters, so you don't need to hear me ramble through the entire thing. You can skip ahead to where you want to be. However, I do occasionally ramble out useful tidbits of information, so if you have the time, I recommend hearing me out. Chapter 1 is going to go over both the minimum requirements and my recommended setup. Chapter 2 is going to go over missions that I think are the choicest picks for making exotics gathering runs. And Chapter 3 is the method I use for setting up a quick and effective base for extracting those exotics. Basically, in Chapter 3, I'm gonna do a run. I'm gonna let you see how I go about it, how I set up for it, and the process I use to get in and out as fast as possible. Now, if there's an interest later on, I can create another guide on gathering exotics in open world. That's a whole different animal, and I think using missions is probably faster. But finding them in your open world game can be a lot more exciting, especially if you're playing in a group. It's just fun to go out and hunt exotics with the group. And one last note before we get started, because I get this question a lot. Yes, you can use the same character on multiple saves simultaneously. So even if you already have an open world going, there is nothing to stop you from selecting that character at character select, starting a new mission, and then and going ahead and doing what I'm showing you here. The other save will remain exactly as it is. Your character's progress is separate from the saves, so all the missions and open world games contribute to your character progression. And the exotics and Ren you earned in missions can even be used to purchase items in the workshop that you can then send down to your open world save by using a cargo pod. All right, Chapter 1, Equipment. First, let's talk about required blueprint unlocks. And we'll go here. At a minimum, you will need, from Tier 1, Campfire, Stone Tools, Axe, Pickaxe, and Knife, specifically. I do recommend having a Repair Hammer, a Bow, and Stone Arrows, a Torch, and either thatch or wood building set. I hardly ever find a reason to have thatch. You really don't even need to unlock it at first. Later on, I think I'm not even sure why I unlocked it, but I did eventually unlock it. I hardly ever use it. Wood is far superior, and the materials are readily available. You're also going to want to take the trim set. You don't have to, but I highly recommend it because this is where you get the wood windows from. And the wood window is what's going to make your window openings in your wall weatherproof. And on to Tier 2. You're going to need the crafting bench, of course. That's the first item that you have to unlock before any of this other stuff unlocks. You're going to need a stone furnace. You're going to need the orbital exchange interface. And in order to get the orbital exchange interface, you're going to have to unlock the contact device first. And that's pretty much it for blueprints. You'll be replacing these blueprints with workshop purchases very quickly, at least for this thing we're doing today. And about the only upgrades I'd recommend are over here in Tier 1. It wouldn't hurt to add the drying rack, which is really good for creating jerky, and I definitely would have that. It does help because once you've got a food slot in your suit, jerky's the way to go. And a bone knife can be helpful. But a lot of this stuff you're just going to be replacing with station gear as soon as you have enough exotics to buy it. So if you're starting off this primitive, don't worry, you're going to quickly start adding in those exotics, and that's going to get you unlocking at least the basic station gear really quickly. Now let's talk the station equipment that you need at the very least. Let's go to workshop. Now, the bare minimum you're going to need out of here is an extraction. You'll have to unlock all 3 items under the extraction category in the workshop. That's the IC-001 radar, IC-001 extractor, and the IC-001 prototype power source. This does represent a significant cost in early stages of the game. You won't need to purchase the radar. You don't need to purchase it. You do need to unlock it. But even that isn't cheap. And for the basic requirement for this technique, you'll also need one of the extractors and 1 prototype power source. And I say 1 because even though that might not get you all the way through the vein that you're trying to extract, well, early on, I believe 1 is going to do you. But even if it doesn't, you instantly get these exotics, and using the orbital exchange interface, you can craft one of these and send it down without leaving the mission that you're on. So you only need to have 1 available to you when you start. So altogether, you're looking at 200 to unlock the radar, 800 to unlock and craft at least 1 extractor, and then a few Ren, 200 Ren to get your first power supply going. Also, I'd like to point out that the power supply cannot be returned to the station. You see it right there in the text for the item. And they don't just mean after it's been used. It doesn't matter if it's completely full and untouched. If you take this down to the planet, it's not coming back up. So don't take down a whole pile of these canisters so that you can get started and then think you're going to send them back up. You only ever need as many on the planet as you have extractors running. Now for the optional equipment. These are items I find help to greatly speed up the process, and this is the order I personally would add them in. So first of all, let's go down to bows and grab this first workshop bow. It's cheap, and it's a lot better than a crafted bow you're going to get down on the planet. It works just fine with stone arrows, but later on you can, of course, pick up a pack of arrows, just like that. This used to be arranged differently. That's why I had this one unlocked before this one. Anyway, pick up these packs of arrows. These are great to start out with. It's only 10 Ren to start off with a pack of arrows and not have to worry about crafting stone arrows. But this isn't something you have to do right away. You can save that for later. So start with a bow, because you'll be needing to kill some animals for materials, as well as taking out a few cave worms. A good bow helps a lot with that. And that's something you're going to need every time, is some kind of projectile weapon to take care of those worms. Unless you get really good at using a knife or a spear or something like that, you do you. For me, a bow, a gun, crossbow, something like that is going to have to be the way to deal with cave worms. Next, I would go to gadgets. And yeah, I'm going to say you need the canteen next. You do have to unlock the firewhacker first. It's only 75 Ren. Unlock the firewhacker, and then go ahead and grab yourself a canteen. What's great about these is when filled, this canteen will last you multiple sessions. You'll be able to go down, come back up, go down, come back up without refilling it. You could fill it at your open world base and then send it back up to the station. It retains the amount of water and the type of water that's in it from mission to mission. In fact, if we go here in my loadout and we look down here, you'll see that this one is actually filled with tea. So I went down to one of my open world missions, and it's actually the one that I specifically use for outfitting my characters before missions. And I made some hot tea. I put that in this canteen. Actually used the canteen to make the tea. Anyway, I made the canteen full of tea. I sent it back up to the station, and now I can take this canteen of tea back down on my mission with me and start off with that 25% health regeneration plus temperature. If you can do cold weather, that's important. In this case, it's not going to matter much. I'm not doing a cold weather mission right away. Also, I've got coffee in this other one here. Coffee is what I'll probably take down with me. Again, I don't care about the temperature, but that maximum stamina and stamina regeneration makes it so you can run and move a lot faster. And that's the whole name of the game right now, right? Next, as long as we're here, same thing. It's in the gadgets section here. Is going to be the O2 tank. And again, you can take these O2 tanks, and you can see I've got 3 full here. I just filled these up the other day at my at the same station I use for refilling everything here. I have an electric oxygen synthesizer down on one of my open worlds. I pack all my tanks in there when I'm starting to get low. You see I've got a couple of empty ones up. Got one here. I can't move these around. I got one here, got one here. These are gonna, they're gonna empty out. Got some extra water canteens here. When these run out, I just go back down to my open world, pop these into the electric oxygen unit, and fill them all up. Then send them back up to the station, and they're ready to go for the next mission. And these oxygen tanks last a long time. If these missions are going to take you, let's say you take an hour mission, this tank will last you for a very long time at an hour mission. I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 missions. I didn't actually count that. I just know that I usually have forgotten to check my tank by the time it becomes an issue. Next, we're going to look at tools. So you want to take down the best tools you have available to you. Everything you pull out of the tools section here, even the most basic thing, is going to reduce the time it takes you to get those exotics and get back up the station. So axe, you see how cheap that is to research and how cheap it is to craft. Axe, pickaxe, and knife. You can grab those 3 things like nothing, and then start working your way up to, better and better knives. This is as far as I've gotten because I don't use a knife for much, but as I continue to gain exotics, I'll continue to unlock these, at least once I find them to be the most useful thing to unlock. Next would be specifically the S5 environmental suit. You do need to go through this one first. Now, I don't know why S5-2 is in front of the S5 environmental suit. These seem a little goofy the way they're laid out in here. I'm guessing this is going to all get corrected at some point in time. The important thing is this is the suit you want to aim for this particular project, which could find you doing considerable time AFK. And that's because it has an oxygen slot, a food slot, which most don't, and a water slot. So you can fill up on all of your basic needs and walk away. Whereas if you don't have a water slot or you don't have a food slot, you're going to have to make sure you are at least paying enough attention to keep yourself fed and watered while you're doing the extraction part of this technique. And then next I'd go on to the deployables, pick up the MXC campfire and the MXC furnace. These 2 items here will give you a nice head start. First is going to be the MXC furnace, because saving yourself having to build a furnace is a big time saver when you're trying to do this as quickly as possible. Second would be this MXC campfire, because it's great at not setting yourself on fire. It still will set you on fire if you step in the campfire, but you can take this campfire, put it outside, and storms won't put it out. It'll just keep running forever. So you just stick it outside, fill it up, and if you don't have a drying rack, you can throw your meat on there to cook it right away, and then everything's ready. This is one less thing to worry about. Again, just slap these 2 things down, and you're instantly ready to go. You're going to see how I put this all together when we get to the last chapter here. And lastly, let's go to armor. And all of these have their different specialties. This is the one I rocked for a long time. This is the Nano head armor, and other pieces here. And I'll let you look at those stats and decide for you, decide which of these is best for you. Currently in my open world game, I'm using the best one here, the Larkwell Martinez, but I have not gone ahead and crafted another set of that. First of all, it's kind of expensive, at least to craft 5 pieces. But I haven't crafted a whole set of that I use on my missions or anything. I'm still rocking this first one because it's usually been enough to get me through what I need to get through. And that pretty much sums it up for blueprints and equipment. Obviously, the better the gear that you unlock, the better off you'll be. Now let's move on to missions. Now this is where I spent several hours of research for this video, and I hope you don't mind if I just quickly ask for you to consider hitting the subscribe button. Subs really do help the channel. It gets me closer to that step of monetizing. I mean, you're probably watching commercials on this video either way. That helps me get a cut of those commercials. So that does help me a lot. And if you want to show support in a monetary fashion, you can make a small donation below with the super thanks button, or even consider becoming a channel member to get your name added to the in-video credits. All right, moving on. Let me just say that this technique does not involve clearing every vein in the given mission. Instead, it relies on grabbing a vein that is very close to the drop point, speed running through the process of getting an orbital exchange set up, and then calling down an extractor as soon as possible. Please remember that drop locations are somewhat randomized. I'll give you a general idea, but it could be a couple hundred meters from that position. All right, let's go to the mission screen. So I've broken down the missions I recommend into 4 tiers. The higher the tier, the higher the potential exotics per run, but I've offset that a little bit by the difficulty in getting those exotics. So you might see that some of these later missions I'm recommending are maybe don't have as high a potential, but are much easier to run or much quicker to run. And I'm also going to include a bonus mission at the end of the list. In tier 1, we have Spelunking and Headstone. Both have veins with 80 to 120 exotics each, which averages 100 exotics per run. Now, Spelunking is available right after you finish Beachhead, which is kind of the tutorial mission of this game. So you're going to do this one first, and then that'll open up Spelunking and everything else that's off of this main line here. So Spelunking is a good place to start to build up some XP and grind out enough exotics to get you moving forward with some basic station gear. Now, the approximate drop zone here is fairly close to the potential exotics vein with a 50% spawn chance. You get to that by knowing that there are 4 locations that can spawn exotics veins on this map, and there's 2 veins every time the map spawns. So at any given potential spot, there's a 50-50 chance you're going to find a vein there. But often the drop is on the other side of this range of mountains here, and that can really slow you down. And the cave location you'll need is also down here, so either way, you're going to go across this mountain range on a regular basis. It's not really that far, but it is something that that costs you some time. Headstone has a very close vein to drop location range, but only a 33% vein spawn rate. The cave is located here, and then of course the vein here, and your drop location somewhere in here. Both Spelunking and Headstone have caves that are fairly close, though you should know that Spelunking's cave is frustratingly on the other side of that tall cliff. Let's move on to tier 2. I had a hard time categorizing this one as tier 2 instead of tier 3, but it has enough flaws in it that it's not going to be my go-to mission. The mission I'm referring to is Sandy Bridges. The drop zone is generally somewhere in here, the vein here, and up here is going to be your cave. The big pro to this one is the amount of exotics potential. Sandy Bridges has veins that can produce between 180 and 220 exotics. That's 200 average per run. And it's not too far into the mission tree, so it's available pretty early in game. However, the run might seem small when looking at it on this map, but oftentimes the drop is up on these cliffs, and wildlife in this area are considerably more dangerous. On top of that, there is only 1 active vein in 4 possible locations. That's only a 25% chance that this is the vein that will have those exotics. It might be useful to bring radar in this initial drop. At least then you'd be able to determine pretty quickly where the vein was, but I just don't know if you'll get a fast enough turnaround to make this run worthwhile. That's your call. Now on to my tier 3 pick, and that's going to be Ramp Up. Now you do need to go through Waterfall first, but other than that, Ramp Up is not that far ahead, requiring only the first mission, one of these 2 here, and then this one. Then you're exposed to Ramp Up. This is probably my favorite. Ramp Up has 140 to 160 exotics per vein with a 50% spawn rate. Now, that's only 150 average, but it's a pretty easy one with the vein here, the drop zone up in here, and a cave right over here. This one is pretty solid. The demo run I'm going to do for you in a little bit here is going to be using this mission. And then second is going to be El Camino, which is all the way down here at this end. It's one of 2 missions that are going to give access to the 4th group of missions, and the veins have 180 to 220 exotics, which is an average of 200 per run. It also has a 50% spawn rate. However, The veins are not as close. If you're going to do this one, it's probably time to buy our radar from the workshop. It'll tell you which of the two locations, north or south, has the exotics. If it's south, I'd consider passing on it. However, if you invest in the dropship recall beacon from the station, then at least the return trip is quick. Here's the drop zone. Here are the caves near each location. And here's the exotics veins. And then lastly, in Tier 4, we're going to go all the way to the last mission in the group. This is Cryogenic. This mission has the highest possible payout so far, but not the highest average. Each vein here has 120 to 240 exotics. That's only 180 average. They do have a 50% spawn rate, however, so that kind of makes up for some of the variability. The drop zone is in this area, a useful cave is here, and the exotics location is here. Now let's go on to the honorable mention here, and that's going to be right here, Spirit Walk. This is a classic from the early days of Icarus, and it's the last exploration mission that's still available. The rest of them have all been removed from the game. There are 3 veins of 200 to 300 exotics each on this map. The average run will net you 900 exotics from the 3 veins, and if you're going to use a group hunt approach, which I'll talk about in a second here, there are abundant caves, since the whole map is basically open, that could easily add several hundred more to your haul. However, this is a full-on classic exploration mission, meaning it's like an open world with an expiration date. If you want to do this one, make sure you have a good selection of workshop gear, and I suggest a number of friends as well. The game here is going to be to quickly establish a base and outfit it to carry you and your crew through multiple days. A central location is probably where you want to go, either like here, F8, or here, M11. But that's up to you. Any fairly central location is going to be fine. Next, plop down a radar. There are only 6 possible locations for veins. Here, 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 and here. You should be able to get a really good idea where those veins are with 1 or 2 scans. Then make sure each person in your group has an orbital exchange interface, as well as having unlocked the workshop dropship recall beacon. Each person should call their dropship to the current location of your temporary base and pack it with the essentials: floors, roofs, walls, doors, workbench, etc. Then you all head off in different directions. Collect exotics from the caves as you go, and then launch them up using the orbital exchange interface. Anyone logged into your game when the exotics are sent up will be rewarded those exotics. It's not a split, it's the full value of each shipment. So if I send up 300 exotics, I get 300 exotics, you get 300 exotics, and our buddy Bob gets 300 exotics. This is why the divide and conquer method is great for this kind of map. When each vein is reached, that person then plops down their orbital exchange interface and brings down their 2 extractors, a couple of power supplies, and a dropship recall beacon. Then they just call their dropship in, unpack all those walls and floors that they put in there earlier, build a base, and get to extracting. Once everything's done and everybody's sent everything up to the station, make sure nobody logs out before you're done sending things to the station. Everybody just hangs out until everything's been sent up. Once everything's sent up, you're all free to jump in your dropships, which are going to be right next to you, and head on out, rinse and repeat. Or go to sleep at this point because you've been up for hours. Now, finally, let's move on to Chapter 3. Let's run a mission. I'm going to edit out any periods of downtime or grinding here, but I am going to keep track of the time that passes on this mission so you can get an idea of how long it's going to take you to do the same kind of thing. Now, I'm going to do this with the best possible gear that I have, because this video is going to be long enough as is. And what you need to know is that you'll need to sacrifice speed for every item you need to manufacture instead of bringing down with you from the station. So if you're not going to be bringing down a bow with you from the station, you're going to have to craft a bow. Pickaxe, same thing. So these things are going to slow you down. You're going to get faster and faster at this as you do it. And what you're going to see here is what that culminates in. So we're going to choose ramp up for this demo. There we are. Now, there is no reason not to use the easy difficulty setting for this. The exotics veins are not affected by your difficulty setting. Choosing easy is going to cut down on any rewards if you were to finish the mission, but you're not going to finish the mission. I mean, maybe if you're going to decide to finish the mission, fine, do whatever you're going to do. But my plan here is not to finish this mission, so I don't really care that it's cutting down on my rewards, because it's also cutting down on the difficulty of me getting to these exotics, and that's what I'm after. I'm going to claim the prospect, and then I'm going to build my loadout. Now, I will not be taking the extractors or power supplies yet, and the reason for this is twofold. First, if it turns out there's no vein in the location we're going to check, then we're going to turn right around and head back up to the station. Power supplies can't be taken back up to the station, so if you don't find an exotics vein, they're just going to be wasted. Second, we can't send up exotics until we have an orbital exchange built anyway, so I'd rather take down more important gear. Now, you absolutely could just gamble your power supplies by taking them and the extractors down with you right away, and if you get lucky, you can get them started extracting immediately while you get everything else set up so that you can send those exotics up to the station. That's up to you. Power supplies aren't that expensive, but multiple unlucky drops in a row could be hard on the bank account that way. All right, this is what we're taking with us. Canteen full of coffee. Oxygen tank. Beginning armor. Campfire. Furnace. Bow. Basic weapons. These aren't the best ones I have unlocked. They're just what I have available in my inventory here. A movement speed module and a backpack. This should provide me with everything I need. All right, once you've touched down on planet, just look to the side and hit F key or whatever your use key is. Hit take all, exit out of there, and go into your inventory right away. You're going to need to put the canteen and the oxygen tank into their slots right away. For some reason, they go straight to the toolbar. You want them in their slots. All right. Now, you could just leave those out of the slots because you will not run out of those things in the time it takes you to... Well, we have an exotics vein. That's the music for it. And it should be right there. There we go. Now, if I got to this point and there wasn't an exotics vein here, I would just jump in my ship, head straight back up, come down, and try again. Once you have exotics, it's time to get to work. You're going to chop down a few trees, gather some materials, and kill any animals that wander close. You won't need to chop up bones for this, but go ahead if you want to. Do what you're going to do. You'll need a shelter in order to run the furnace, which you'll need to melt the ore required to build the orbital exchange interface. So we're going to make 4 floors, 6 walls, a door, and a window if you did go ahead and unlock those windows. I'm also going to go ahead and craft some stone arrows quick. If I'd taken an arrow pack, I wouldn't have to do that, but whatever. Now, I should note that the drop pod location is randomized. So you're not going to always drop down as close as I did to this one, but this is a fairly common one to drop down really close to where the exotics vein is located. Okay, 4 floors, 6 walls, a door, and a window. Now, one thing about building on this angle here is it can be easy to accidentally put your base in the ground. So I'm going to go ahead and throw a pillar in the ground like this, and that's going to help me start off my base. Then the walls. A door. And that window should be facing right towards the exotics. Throw your other floors down as a roof. Put your door in. And your window. I did accidentally build a ramp, which I don't need in this particular location. There we go. Now, if you want to get fancy with your shelter, you'll have all the downtime to do that later while the extractors are running. For now, let's just get those walls and roofs up and move on. One of my group members, Bob, has an almost compulsive need to build. If we stop in one spot for more than a few minutes, I'll find myself standing in the center of a sprawling mansion. I swear it just pops up around me when I'm not looking. All right, let's put the furnace down right here. I'm going to come out here and put the campfire outside here where we won't step on it. Go ahead and throw some wood in there. And then go ahead and, if you have the parts, throw up a drying rack. While that's going, I am going to need some animals, so I am going to go and kill something quick. I'm mostly after the materials that are going to be needed to build the workbench. Notice how I keep a marker on where that location is. That's because, in fact, I'm going to update that right here. It's more like right here. That's because that way when I'm out wandering around, it makes it easy to find my base again without stumbling around the woods. Okay, now we're going to put down the drying rack. These can go inside too, so wherever you can stick it. And we're going to throw the meat on there. We're going to make jerky. Jerky is going to help us AFK if we want to AFK this out. Now we're going to go directly to the nearest cave. In this case, that's going to be right here. Now, if you haven't found any sulfur yet, you're going to just have to make a regular torch, and that's fine too. You do a quick look around and make sure there isn't one sitting right there. Take out the evil horses that happen to be standing around when you get there. And just go ahead and craft yourself a regular torch then. If you found some sulfur laying around, great. You can make the wood torch, provided you have that unlocked. Otherwise, this is fine. They don't last as long and the light's not as good, but they'll work. Now, sometimes this cave will just be open. You won't see it sealed like this. That's fine. Just means I have to hack my way into it. And I'll probably have to throw some stone on the ground at some point. Maybe not. Make sure I have enough room so I can go in and out without getting snagged on the wall. There's one right there. I'm going to show you how to dodge a worm real quick, as long as we're at this. So say you don't get him killed in time. And that's all you have to do right there. So don't panic. That's the big takeaway here. All right. So what you need out of here. Oh, and watch out for bees. I don't know if I can reach the nest from here. Hopefully I don't even need to get in there all the way, but I don't see any copper immediately inside here, so it looks like I'm going to have to go in a little deeper to get to the copper. So what you need out of here is 14 iron, 14 copper. That's plenty. And if you find any coal, go ahead and grab one node. You don't need any more than that. Now, you need a melee weapon to take care of the bees that are coming after you. You can't kill them with a projectile weapon. Oh, I've got a worm spitting at me at the same time. There we go. Scattered the bees. And we're going to get ready for that worm to come back up again. Okay, once you finally manage to get to your materials here, there we go. And that's plenty of copper. That's all you really need to do in this cave. Come in here, grab those few things, head on back to your base. Go ahead and pop this open and highlight your location. Once you're back at base, immediately get that stuff going. Now, if you don't have the MXC furnace, this is the point where you're going to have to build the workbench first so that you can build a stone furnace, and then you'll use that. We're just going to pop these in here, throw the coal that we found in there, and that part is on its way. Next, we're going to come into crafting and craft a workbench. Now, if you've been killing stuff and been gathering as you go, you probably have enough here, but if you don't, go ahead and grab the materials. It doesn't take a whole lot to do it. And get a crafting bench going. You need that crafting bench, like I said, for a stone furnace if you don't have the MXC furnace unlocked. You'll also need it to build the orbital exchange interface, and that's really the whole point of this first half of this process here. Once you've got that ready, we can deploy it. Come in here and see what we need to complete our orbital exchange interface. It's right here. I will need rope, iron, those 7 iron ingots, 7 copper ingots, and wood. Now, we can get the rope going right away. We should have plenty of materials for that. I guess not. We're going to go ahead and run around and gather some more fiber. I must have blown all my fiber doing something or another. It happens easy. Now, I did realize I was getting hungry as I was grabbing my fiber. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to grab this jerky. I'm going to stick it right in this food slot. And I should not have to worry about food. I may not have to worry about food the rest of the time I'm here. I'm just going to go ahead and consume these berries to fill that up. And I'm going to come in here. And what do we got? Got enough copper. Now we're just waiting on the iron. Let's go ahead and make those 8 rope we're going to need. There's our 8 rope. There's plenty of copper. And 1 more. Wait, did I have 5? 4? Yeah, whatever. Coming in here. And there we go. All our materials are there. There's our orbital exchange board. We craft that. Go ahead and hit deploy. And stick that out here somewhere. It's a little crooked. All right, we're going to request equipment now. Now is the time. We're going to bring down both extractors, or 1 extractor if you only have 1 extractor. At this point, when we're at this further along mission here, I would expect you've got 2 by now. Bring those, bring your power sources, and any other equipment that you decide you want to bring down for just for fun. Go ahead and bring that down now. And there we go. Now, if you're wondering why you can't pick these up, it's probably because you're trying to put them in the wrong slot. They go down here in the G slot. That's your heavy equipment slot. You can only carry 1 at a time, so don't try to grab them both right away. Go ahead and grab your power supplies and head on over to your exotics main. You can just hit G, put 1 down, go ahead and throw the power supply in there and get it started. Run back over and grab the other one. Now, it's pretty seldom that these attract animals, but they do once in a while attract something aggressive that'll start attacking them. I found that it's almost never happened, and it's never done much damage to them. They are repaired with a repair hammer. So go ahead and make yourself a repair hammer if you want to. Or if these have taken damage over the course of several outings. What do I need here? more fiber. There we go. And if you have your repair hammer on, you can just walk over here and go ahead and repair like you would anything else. You see that was a little damaged? Well, it's slightly damaged. They have a lot of hit points, and I've been using these. It's the only 2 I've ever bought. So I've been using these 2 for a long time. So these extractors run at 3.32 exotics per minute per unit. So we've got 2 of them running at the moment. So that gives you an idea how long you have before you would need to check back in on these. Now, you can see that the fuel time is 1 hour and 12 minutes. In most conditions, this 1 canister is going to be enough to mine these out. The exception would be on, say, Spirit Walk, where those larger veins, if you hit a vein of 300 in it, you're going to need more than 1 power supply to get through that vein. But that's a good problem to have, right? So we're just going to let these sit. We know that we've got at least 1 hour's worth of fuel. The vein will run out before that. And because we've got ourselves set up with oxygen, plenty, food, probably plenty, and a canteen, again, there's plenty in here, we should be good to just walk away from the computer for a period of time. If your husband or wife is calling you to dinner, you've got it covered. Go eat with the confidence of knowing you're getting wealthier by the second. Well, video game wealthy, anyway. If it's not dinner time, this is a good time to grind some XP, kill some stuff, build some stuff, go hunting exotics in nearby caves. Once you have a load of exotics waiting to be sent back up, call down a pod or use the one you've called down earlier if it's still there, and fill it up. Launch them up as often as you like. Or wait until the vein is empty and you can get an easy tally. It's up to you. Okay, and that looks like it's it. So let's go ahead and get a total here. Let's take all from this one. And then, like I said, you can't... Let's turn the lights on. Now, like I said, you can't take these with you, these power supplies. So there you go. Toss them on the ground. Grab this other one. Take all out of there. And let's go and drop these in our drop pod and see what we got. And there you have it. With the cave included, we have 172 exotics. Not a bad haul. Anyway, now we gotta pack up camp. Don't forget your stuff. I'm gonna hit deliver to station, and you'll see that I've already been rewarded. As soon as I hit the button, I was rewarded with 172 exotics, and it's showing that I returned these items to the station. Let's go ahead and grab everything else. Head back to your pod. Now, you don't need to take your stuff out and put it into the cargo area. That's a misconception. You did at one point in time, I think, have to do that, but it's been a long time since you had to do that. Don't worry, just leave it on your toolbar, leave it equipped on your inventory here. It's all going back up with you. And it's actually going to remember how much coffee and air you have left and all that stuff. You're fine. Go ahead and drop it and jump in the ship and hit return to the station. It's going to give you a little warning about stuff that you can't take with you. Go ahead and head up. And that's it. Now, I did forget to look at the clock before I hit the launch button here. But looking at the recording time I have here, that's about 40 minutes to get down to the planet, get my stuff, mine those exotics, and then launch back up. Not bad, right? And that pretty much covers how I grind exotics. Each of you is obviously going to have your own ideas as to what is fun, but I actually enjoy this process myself. I think it's fun to drop down, build this little shelter, grab some exotics, head back up. I find it entertaining to do this as kind of a, a side gig to running my open world. So let me know down in the comments below if you have a mission that you think works even better for this process, or if you have a better process in general. If you found the video useful, I'd really appreciate a like and a sub. And if you want to be made aware when the next video is out, hit the notification bell. And like I said earlier, if you'd like to donate to the cause, you can hit that super thanks button down below, or even become a channel member, and I'll get you added to the credits. It's fairly inexpensive, and it really does help to keep the channel going. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. I truly hope you have a wonderful day. Benny out.